What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Ben on Sports. This week, NASCAR is in Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Brickyard 400 for the third of four Crown Jewel events. Let's get into the storylines coming out of New Wilkesboro. Ford, for the first time all year, goes back to back as Logano wins at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Logano picking up his first win of the year, getting to 15th in the points, the highest he's been in a while. Some good cushion on the cut line as well. And Ford now has won two races in the last week when they had only won one coming into this stretch. Big news for Ford. Separation at the cut line is here. I think it's something like over 30 points. We'll see it a little bit later on. But the cut line now, after the last 2 weeks, has gotten some real separation to it. And a lot of drivers that like to want to try and get in the playoffs, have been in the playoffs recently, or were in the playoffs just a couple weeks ago, are now out of it. Guys like Ross Chastain, Brad Keselowski, Eric Jones, some big names. Ryan Preece from good teams not in the playoffs as it currently stands. And because of that separation, it's becoming increasingly more unlikely. Early incident ruined multiple drivers' days. You obviously had, you had incidents on pit road like Larson with Larson and Zilich ruined Larson's day. It seemed like they had that car figured out towards the end. This wasn't late, but Blaney, had to start out back, move towards the front, got the penalty, still finished 11th, but could have been a better day. And then obviously the big one during the green flag cycle, you had Alex Bowman clearing himself down when he wasn't cleared down, and Tyler gets into Tyler Reddick, causes a wreck. Those two, it hurt them, but not as much as it hurt other drivers like Chase Elliott, who was one of the fastest cars on the track. He gets pinned a lap down and never gets the lap back. That could have been a top 5 day, potentially even a win for Chase Elliott, that goes by the wayside because of that. Lots of early incidents. Christopher Bell had his own troubles early on as well after starting up front, and didn't have a good day either. So some gaps were able to close in the points because of that. A lot of early incidents, both on track, on pit road, coming to pit road, caused a huge shakeup in that race. And in the end, only 6 cars finished on the lead lap. First points race in 30 years at New Wilkesboro. How was it? I know there's some people saying it was long. Just over 3 hours to me is not a long NASCAR race. There wasn't that many cautions. You really want to shorten the races, take all the planned stage breaks out. Only throw a caution flag, when a caution is necessary. How about that? That would take some time out, but I know that there's the whole stage racing playoff point ideas we have involved. Plus, it means you get guaranteed commercials for TV, which helps you with TV ad revenue. I understand that, but that's one way to shorten it. Maybe you could go to and say we should do 400, so it's a nice round number of laps. I don't think the race felt that long, at least to me. Yeah, a little bit longer than 3 hours, but not much. It's okay to have some longer events in the year, and 3 hours is about normal for a sporting event. I know baseball has shortened their length of game. The NHL has never been 3 hours unless it goes to overtime, but the NFL can get that long. Their average game time was a little bit shorter than that this year. College football, you want to talk about ads? A lot of people love college football. There's a big overlap between NASCAR and college football in terms of their fan bases. College football's average game time is longer than what that North Wilkesboro race was. Baseball's shortening their sport, but they still have some long ones. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that worrisome. I thought it was actually a good race. I think it was one of the better short track races of the next gen era. I love short track, so maybe I'm biased. But the short track package unquestionably has needed work. The tracks have maybe needed work too. Maybe it's a combination of both. But you can actually pass on this track to me. And I'm also sick and tired of all these racing fans. I don't know if they're younger fans, as myself, that are addicted to TikTok and have ruined their brain. I don't know if they don't have that much of an attention span. I don't know what the issue is. But long green flag runs are not bad, okay? And that was a good race. You could pass. There was multiple lanes. Yeah, maybe there should be some more tire fall off, but there was multiple lanes you could run. You could pass better than you have at most of the short track races in the next gen era. I don't understand why people are so upset because Joe Logano kicked everybody's butt. Listen, and is there not blowouts in every sport? Sometimes somebody gets their butt kicked, and that's fine. We should appreciate greatness. Joey Logano had the best race of the season for him, and maybe he can turn it around and try and make a run towards the top 10. Like, that was a fantastic run by Logano, and he was just flat out that much better than everybody else. And that's okay. I don't, like, most races, a lot of different teams can win. We've seen that in the next gen era. There's no problem with every once in a while somebody coming out and dominating a race. I think North Wilkesboro was great. I think it's been getting way too much hate as a race. It's not even one of the worst races this season. It's a historical landmark in the history of NASCAR. Why are we trying to ditch it after 1 year? Some other big news in sport. Alex Bowman retiring at the end of 2027. Has some health issues. The 48 also, I feel like, has been dipping in speed. I think it's been clearly the fourth fastest Hendrick car. This kind of feels like, to me, you could see some writing on the wall coming, and Bowman says, give me one more full year. Hopefully I can stay healthy. And now ride off into the sunset. Smart by Bowman to go out on his own terms, talks about wanting to be a father, talks about maybe not feeling like he has it to the level he once did, and I can understand that. Certainly you have to think injuries played a role as well. Alex Bowman retiring at the end of the next season. The third of four Crown Jewel races is this week before a week off for the drivers. I know there's been some discussion about should Indy count. It hasn't been in NASCAR that long. But I think Indy counts because of what it means to racing history and how famous and important Indianapolis Motor Speedway is to racing history, particularly in North America. And for that reason, I think it will continue and should continue to be that. Plus, we've been there for 30 years. Just don't ever switch it back to the road course. It is an interesting track. Indy races are hard to win, but that should be a good thing for Crown Jewel races. The track is unique. It's a very unique track. It's pretty much symmetrical on both sides, and I happen to really like that. Fuel saving might be part of it, but I digress. In the in-season tournament, the final, the Todd father, Todd Gilliland, massive upset over Chase Elliott after Chase Elliott gets pinned to let down. He gets a top 10. Gilliland advances to the championship to face one of the best drivers in NASCAR, Ryan Blaney. David versus Goliath in the in-season tournament. Although, if you're a Todd father fan, you might have more reason to be optimistic than you realize. And speaking of Gilliland, he gets a contract extension. He's going to be staying in the 34 for Front Row Motorsports. He's been there for quite a few years now. It seems like they like him. He likes Front Row. It seems like it's a good match, and that he will continue racing in that car. And then let's get some announcements from NASCAR. In that press release, if I'm understanding it correctly, their most recent press release and conversation, no more regular season champion and trophy, and there's no official delineation of regular season and postseason. I think that's dumb. You effectively still have it. You're just calling it a points reset. So you just become the first seed at the points reset. Or I did watch the clip with Denny Hamlin, and that's what he said. I don't know. Some weird thing. Just call it regular season and just call it regular season champ and then overall champ or something. I don't know. I think NASCAR is doing too much. But anything to make sure Denny Hamlin never gets to say he won a championship as a driver. Am I right? NASCAR announces qualifying changes starting at New Hampshire. It will be a 50-minute practice period for everybody. It will extend the amount of time people can work on cars. I think that's a good thing. I have always been a more practice time fan to allow teams to bring their cars, really work on them, figure out what they need. NASCAR, I think this is a step in the right direction. I don't think they're ever going to embrace the old practice models per se. But I do like this change. I think, it's a fair debate whether it'll help level out the playing field or not. But I think it should help a little bit because the more cars you have and the bigger teams you have, the more people you have working, the more people you have looking at data, the more data you have in general about tracks that some of the smaller teams may not have. It gives the smaller teams chances to get out on the track, run the racetrack, get data that way so they can continue to make their car better because they don't always unload as well as some of the big teams. So I like that change. And lastly, also announced this week, Daytona Super Speedway changes. They're changing some things about the super speedway configuration, trying to make super speedway racing more like Atlanta, which has been very competitive, and more of that old school style of super speedway racing. And I think that would go a long way. It's not going to help the fuel mileage, but I hope it helps how close they are racing each other, and we can actually get some racecraft back into super speedway racing rather than saving fuel and everybody runs around at 3/4 speed and you can't go anywhere. You're stuck in whatever line you're in because that's not fun for anybody. All right, let's get into some history at Indianapolis. They've only run the oval twice in the next-gen era because they were, for some reason, decided to stay on the road course for too many years. So let's get into the history of Indianapolis. The two winners, Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace. The best average finish, Kyle Larson, 1.5. He finished first in 24. He finished second last year. Bubba Wallace has an average finish of 3. Ryan Blaney averaging the top 5. Todd Gilliland averaging a 6th place finish, and Christopher Bell is at 6. I actually think it's 6.5. So 4 names you might expect to see. And then Todd Gilliland, like I said, Gilliland and Blaney both have top 10s both times they've been here. Gilliland has finished 6th both times at this track, so maybe Gilliland can actually win the in-season tournament. It's not going to be like most tracks where you expect to see Blaney in the top 5 and Gilliland outside of the top 20. Gilliland has to feel like he has an actual shot based off of the success they've had the last 2 seasons. Most top 5s, Larson and Wallace, both have finished in the top 5 both races here. And then the other 9 drivers for the top 5, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Preece, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, and Tyler Reddick. Then you get to the most top 10s, 5 drivers with top 10s. Guess what? There's only been 2 races. It's the 5 drivers with the best average finish. Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, Todd Gilliland, and Christopher Bell. And then there's 10 other drivers that have found their way to a top 10 finish in the last 2 races here. Austin Cindric, Carson Hocevar, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, Noah Gragson, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Preece, Tyler Reddick, and Denny Hamlin. Favorites to win Indianapolis. This is still kind of hard because I still think teams are figuring it out, and I still think you're going to see some people that have been good there maybe not be as good. Some drivers that haven't been as good to be better. I actually think Team Penske is quietly a really good favorite at this track. Obviously the captain Roger Penske owns this track. It's very important that they do well, especially with the whole IndyCar connection. The fact he owns the racetrack, as I just said, Roger Penske is going to always wants Penske Motorsports to race well at this track. Penske usually does. They arguably should have won last year before all those tire issues. I think Penske will be fast yet again and continue to ride the momentum of 2 straight wins at Atlanta and North Wilkesboro. 23XI won this race last year. Bubba Wallace has very good stats in his career here, even before the next-gen car. 23XI, I think, will be fast. Toyota's been fast as a group this season. That's why I have Joe Gibbs number 3. Denny Hamlin was incredible last year. Wrecks his car, goes to the backup, and the backup almost drove him all the way to the front. Joe Gibbs 23XI. You normally have at least 4 cars between them near the front of the field, it feels like, on any given week. They seem to have an advantage on the rest of the field. I think that will continue this week. Hendrick Motorsports 4th. Kyle Larson has been very good here. Chase Elliott's been pretty good here. But I think Hendrick Motorsports, they're never going to not be a top 5 at any track. This week is mostly, I think, on the strength of Kyle Larson, but you can never count anybody on Hendrick Motorsports 100% out. And number 5 was tough. Spire has looked better. Suarez has had some good races here. Hocevar raced well here last season. Spire seems to bring pretty consistent speed to ovals, so I'm giving it to them based on that history. But RFK has been fast here. Fords have been fast here in general. And another team I wanted to bring up that I almost put there, that I think will be really, really good this week and will surprise some people again. They have a driver competing for a playoff spot. Legacy Motor Club is really finding it. They were very good here last year at Indy. They were good at Pocono. They were good at Michigan. These bigger ovals, Legacy seems to have figured out this style of driving. I think it's going to be no different this week. I think John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones will both be towards the front of this pack. And Eric Jones is fighting for a playoff spot, so that would be sorely needed. And again, they have the Toyota boost. I'm still giving Spire a consistency edge, where Spire is consistently showing up, but I would not be shocked at all to see Legacy Motor Club perform well this week. My driver rankings, Ryan Blaney is my favorite. I'm still going to rock with it, but I think he's been my favorite the last 3 weeks. But I think this stretch really works well for Penske and Ryan Blaney. So Ryan Blaney is my favorite this week to get the win. Denny Hamlin was really fast here last year. Denny Hamlin has won the Brickyard on numerous occasions. I think Denny Hamlin shows up this week ready to atone for the mistake last year of wrecking his car in qualifying. Tyler Reddick, his teammate, won this race last year. Toyota's been fast here. Reddick needs a good day after the bad luck he's had the last month. I think Reddick shows up with speed. Kyle Larson with the 5th best odds. He's a winner here. He has never, in the next scenario, he finishes a first and second. Larson's still looking for his first win. Maybe this weekend is the weekend that it happens. Bubba Wallace at 6, last year's winner, has another top 10 to his name. Bubba Wallace should be in the mix all week. Austin Cindric, with my 7th best odds, quietly one of his best tracks. Austin Cindric has been very, very good at Indianapolis on the oval. I think that continues this week. He is now the only Penske driver without a win this year after Logano won last week. Maybe this is the week Cindric gets it. He looked really good last year until, well, if you're a Cindric fan, you probably know, but had some, let's just say, difficulties that made him pit again when he was in pretty darn good position. Austin Cindric should be good this week. Let's see if he can continue to add to his cushion to the cut line. Christopher Bell has been good here, has a good finish or two. Toyota's been fast. Bell's fine speed on just about every track. I think Bell will be quick this week. Still looking for his first win. A driver that normally is a championship caliber driver, he still is. Can he find that little bit extra? Joey Logano, I have below his teammates, but I still have faith Penske's fast. Joey Logano was wrecked out. You know, that's part of the reason why he's not near the top of any of these lists with the stats. He's wrecked out both of these next-gen races on the Indy Oval. And but he's been fast, and he was especially fast last year. Sorry about that. I dropped the golf ball off my desk. If any of you golf fans are out there, you know how loud that can be. Joey Logano, though, incredibly good, especially I think last year he could have won this race. Got into an accident, and it keeps happening to him. Maybe for the 3rd time is the charm for Logano. My 9th biggest favorite is Todd Gilliland. He has 2/6. He's running. Ford seems to be usually pretty good at this track. He's been good here the last 2 years in the next-gen car. He's in the in-season tournament. Front row seems like they're able to get one driver to have a good week, 2 drivers to maybe get top 15s. I think it stays Todd Gilliland's turn. And then one more driver I mentioned him a little bit already. I mentioned Legacy Motor Club. I think Eric Jones finds a way to get near the front and continues to collect points at the Brickyard this weekend. Regular season standings, and if you see the star, it means they have clinched. Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, and Ryan Blaney have clinched their spot in the playoffs, regardless of what happens the rest of the year. Other drivers are pretty close as well. Hamlin and Reddick I still have as the 2 favorites, but I'm very close to adding Blaney to that group. Denny Hamlin leading the pack at 842 points. Tyler Reddick's deficit is now down to 68. Ever since Denny Hamlin got that points lead, Tyler Reddick led the first couple months of the season. Denny Hamlin now has the lead and has a 68-point advantage. And now Ryan Blaney, only 19 back of Reddick, 87 back of Denny Hamlin. If Ryan Blaney can continue his hot streak into the playoffs, I think I'm going to add Ryan Blaney to my championship favorite group in yellow. But for right now, I'm leaving him at the top of my tier 1B guys that can win the title but haven't quite shown the elite level that the other drivers above them have this year in that orange group. Ty Gibbs kind of all alone in fourth place. He's at 708, which is 47 points back of Ryan Blaney and 74 points up on fifth place, which is Chase Elliott at 634. So Ty Gibbs kind of in no man's land, but with the new point system, you can make up and lose points pretty quickly, so you cannot get complacent. As I said, Chase Elliott in fifth at 634. His teammate Larson 616 in sixth, so they are separated by 18. Neither one of them had the races they wanted to last week, and you can see they lost ground to Ty Gibbs, and drivers behind them like Hocevar and Briscoe made up ground. And speaking of Carson Hocevar, he is in seventh in the season standings. First driver not at 600 points. He is at 598, which is only 18 points behind Larson. We could be living in a world in the playoffs where Larson is not even top six. I still think Larson should find a way there. I still think he has a chance to win this week. But Larson now very, very close to Carson Hocevar. You can make up 18 points in one race, especially with stage points. So Larson needs a good week to avoid that fate. Chase Briscoe had his third top three in 4 weeks, finishing third at North Wilkesboro. He's up to 587 points. His points recovery continues. He is now only 11 points back of Carson Hocevar for 7th place. He's in 8th. And Chris Buescher falls all the way to 9th. He's only 2 points back of Briscoe and 13 points back of Hocevar. So Buescher can still make it up back to 7th and pretty easily. He's kind of been living in 7th for a while, but Hocevar and Briscoe finally ran him down. Obviously, Briscoe, I think, has a car and a team capable of winning the championship. He just needs, I don't think he can start at 8th and get there. But that's why he is leading this pink group, and Hocevar and Buescher in this green group, because I don't think they can win the title, but they're having good years and should be happy with where they are in the points, especially some of the drivers they're in front of. Rounding out the top 10, Christopher Bell is 574, which is 11 back of Chris Buescher in 9th and 13 back of his teammate in 8th. JGR with all 4 of their cars in the top 10. Christopher Bell still doesn't have a win. A win would go a long way. He could probably pass maybe 3 guys in front of him with a good day and a win at Indy. Christopher Bell in 10th place. 11th place, Daniel Suarez, another guy that probably won't win the championship but should be ecstatic with his first season at Spire Motorsports. He's at 558 points, so 16 points back of Christopher Bell. And he's in front of at least 2 guys that I think have better equipment and better cars on a week-to-week basis, at least usually. And the next guy that's in 12th place behind Suarez in 11th, shocking that he's still 12th in points this late into the season. William Byron at 546 points. He's 12 back of Suarez. He's 28 back of Christopher Bell in the top 10. William Byron in 12th at 546 just has not been a great season. Still hasn't found victory lane. William Byron badly needs a good race. Still has plenty of gap to the cut line. Plenty of gap. You still don't feel great about the position you're in. William Byron last year, I'm pretty sure he won the regular season points, or at least he led it most of the year. William Byron definitely thinks he should be top 5 minimum, and he's sitting in 12th. And then another pink driver that I think could win it because he has fast enough equipment, but he needs to finish better and get a better seed and running out of time to do so. Bubba Wallace sitting in 13th, the defending winner of this race. He has 531 points, 15 back of William Byron. That means 7th through 13th are separated by just 57 points, which is maybe one race, maybe a race and a half. They are bunched up pretty close, and all of them want to try and get to that top 6, as it has not been lost on anybody how important getting a top 6 seed for the playoffs is. And then the rest of these guys in red are guys that are near the cut line or have made up the cut line most of the year that I don't think can win the championship because they're already too far back, but are still fighting for the playoffs. there is more separation uh, now. Shane Van Gisbergen, haven't talked about him. Great run at North Wilkesboro. His best oval track run of his Cup Series career. He is up to 516 points. That's just 15 back of Bubba Wallace and 30 back of William Byron. Phenomenal run from Shane Van Gisbergen last week. He is quite comfortable to the cut line now, and you have to think, as long as he avoids a wreck at a place like Daytona, just having solid mistake-free days should get him into the playoffs. Joey Logano up to 511, just 5 points back of Shane Van Gisbergen after that big points day. Getting that first win for Joey Logano had to feel good. Now it's how many points and how many spots can Joey Logano make up before the points reset. And his teammate Austin Cindric right now making up the cut line at 495. Austin Cindric quietly had a decent day. He actually made points up to the cut line, I believe, last week. But because Joey Logano won, he still got past. Austin Cindric right now in the cut line is at 495 points, which is 33 points up on 17th place Eric Jones. That's a lot of points to make up and not a lot of time to do it. Eric Jones was in the playoffs for like the last month or so and has fallen out after the last couple races. But Eric Jones should have a good week this week. Can he make a dent into that 33-point deficit? Ryan Preece is 15 back of Eric Jones. That's 48 points back at the cut line. Ryan Preece or Brad Keselowski, his car owner, is at 437. Both Preece and Keselowski had good days last week. But yet again, they're still 48 and 58 points back of the cut line. That Logano win really hurt a lot of the people with how many points Logano picked up, and he was the cut line. It's going to be a long way back for Keselowski and Preece, and I don't think they can make it up. And then tied for 20th with Michael McDowell, former Championship 4 contender, perennial playoff driver, Ross Chastain. His awful season continues. He is only at 412 points, which is 83 back of Austin Cindric in that 16th spot. I don't think Chastain has enough time. He's going to have to win at least 2 races to have any hope of making that ground up, in my opinion. And they certainly do not seem like they've had the speed to do so. Let me know who you think makes the playoffs. I'm pretty close to saying the 16 that are there are locked in. I'm going to wait. I still want to see a little bit more buffer to the cut line. With at least one more super speedway coming up, but the 16 that are in it might be the 16 going playoff dancing. And very quickly, my power rankings, not much has changed. Hamlin, Reddick, Blaney, Gibbs, still my top 4. Nothing has changed. Blaney almost ready to pass Reddick if he continues to perform much better than him. Chase Elliott I have in 5th. He was so fast last week. He just got screwed over by his own teammate pitting when he wasn't cleared. Chase Elliott still bringing a lot of speed to the track. He might even show some this week. He moved up to 5th because Larson didn't have a good day, and Kyle Larson didn't have as much speed as Elliott. Neither one of them had a great day. Larson's still 6th, and that top 6 is still separated from the rest. But these guys behind him can still catch them this week with a good week. I have Briscoe up to 7, 3 top 3s in the last 4 weeks. Hocevar showing some speed. He still needs to work on long run speed. Bell into the top 10, showed some speed. Another guy that should have finished better. Chris Buescher at 10. Again, none of these positions are really any different. Suarez at 11. Shane Van Gisbergen after his best oval run I have at 12. Bubba Wallace had a decent race, showed some speed. He stays in 13th purely because of how good Shane Van Gisbergen was. William Byron down to 14th. Didn't have a great day. None of the Hendrick cars did, and I just didn't think he was all that fast, so I'm leaving him at 14. This might be lower than I've ever had Byron. Logano with the win is up to 15, and then with another good week, he could climb up a couple more spots on the power ranking, but he struggled so much of the year. I don't want to move him too high too fast. Cindric stays at 16. Eric Jones says 17th on the season, just had an okay day. He stays at 17. Preece and Keselowski both had top 10s, both had great races, but lost ground to the cut line. Both are in very bad point situations. And because of that, I still have them at 18 and 19. And then once you get to 20th, points are so far back, it doesn't matter. But Todd Gilliland put together some good weeks, had a very good race going to a racetrack that he likes. So I figured I'd give Todd Gilliland the shout out and give him the 20th place on the power rankings. That's all I have for you guys this week. Please, please, please like, comment, and subscribe. Put in the comments below who you think wins this week. Tell me who you think the favorites are, and let me know who you think are going to be the 16 playoff drivers. Find a couch, watch some sports this week. The MLB in its last push to the trade deadline, where we will really start to see who the contenders and the pretenders are. Make sure you watch some good sports. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. It's a crazy world out there. Peace out.